Welcome to Market View with Ike Ios and Friends. This show that not only reveals and analyzes the inside story on today's market news, but also uncovers the areas where investors can make money right now.
Good morning. Mike Ios, your host for Market View guest, our good friend, Mrs. Erin Swenlin. Hi, Erin. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well as well.
Yes, I am. Thank you. And curious to hear your thoughts going into next week, the first week of June.
Yes, absolutely. Really interesting market right now. And I have to say, we are kind of known at DecisionPoint for having a mostly bearish outlook. And right now, honestly, at least in the short term, we're quite bullish. We're expecting new all-time highs. Kind of a strange position to be in, perfectly honest.
Let's talk about our first chart, the SPY.
Yes. So here's, I'm going to go through some of the reasons we are short-term bullish right now.
Okay.
Number one, we're looking at the 5-month candlestick chart. And I've marked the short-term double bottom, which I think a lot of us have been watching. We got the breakout from the confirmation line, which was at that top there at the end of mid-May. And we're getting the movement that we're expecting, which is an upside move based on the pattern. We should see prices certainly get to all-time highs and possibly a bit higher than that. The PMO is turned up. We don't actually have the buy signal yet, but that's okay because it's traveling in the right direction. We're seeing, some pretty decent volume trends here. Would like to have seen rising bottoms be a little bit more pronounced on the OBV going into this rally, but I'm accepting it at this point because we are starting to see the OBV getting above those two previous tops. Yeah, the VIX is interesting in that it's been, we invert it on our scale, so don't be confused when they talk about it rising. The readings are actually moving lower. People are getting a little bit more comfortable. But the main thing is we haven't reached the upper Bollinger Band on this inverted scale, and that's when we'll start to be concerned. Because usually when you see that upper Bollinger Band penetrated, you're going to start to see that turn in the short term. That usually means you're going to start seeing lower prices. But for now, it's rising. It hasn't hit overbought territory as far as the Bollinger Band is considered. So at this point, I like the 5-minute candle. I think that it does tell us that we should see some more upside and likely new all-time highs. Okay, so the next one I brought is, of course, our Swenlin, or the golden and silver cross. And granted, the one problem with all of these is that they are on the overbought side. I did have a declining trend on the BPI, but it looks like that's getting ready to be broken to the upside. So not as concerned about that particular confirmation / divergence that we saw earlier this week. And at 79% on the BPI, I think that's a good number. It's not too overbought. The silver cross was really causing me some heartburn after we hit that top in earlier this month. It had started to decline, which of course, is a very bearish sign. But now we're starting to see it turn back up. It isn't quite above its signal line, but it still has room to go to the upside. So again, in the very short term, and the short term really, I'm still very bullish. Golden Cross is very overbought at 97%, but that also means that we have a good solid foundation because 97% of stocks have a 50-day EMA above the 200-day EMA. So that's a good foundation, and that overbought condition can certainly persist if we continue to see higher prices here in the short term. So again, I'm still good with the short term with that silver cross turning up, BPI starting to look like it might be having a short-term rising trend to kind of confirm this breakout from that double bottom in the short term.
How about the STOs?
Yes, the Swenlin trading oscillators. These are really the main reason that I switched to a bullish position earlier this week. You can see that on Monday on Friday of last week, we had seen the STOs turn lower, but immediately on Monday, we started to see them rise again, which gave me that indication that with the breakout from that double bottom and seeing the Swenlin trading oscillators moving up, that, a bullish stance in the short term made sense. And then on Wednesday, we got that sharp move to the upside on those STOs, and then they continued higher yesterday. And while they're kind of overbought near term, there's still plenty of room for them to move higher. And again, I think these rising, very steeply rising at this point, STOs suggest that we are going to see higher prices in the short term. And then when you look at the participation, I already had shown you, I didn't show you that chart, but you can see that the percent of stocks above their 20-day EMA is on a nice rising trend. A reading of 71, 72% is not that overbought, and there's certainly room for it to move higher. Also, we're finally starting to see some movement as far as rising momentum. We use our price momentum oscillator, which is very similar to the PPO MACD, but the calculations are slightly different. And you can see that momentum is, but we do see that increase in momentum. We now have 44% of stocks within the S&P with rising momentum. Their PMOs are moving higher. I would have liked to have seen a bit of a higher reading at this point, but the fact that it's in a rising trend and there is so much room for that to improve, again, I think that short term, it's telling us that we should look for higher prices.
And then we got two of my all-time favorite indicators, the ITBM, and also the ITVM.
Yes, absolutely. So these are intermediate term breadth and volume momentum oscillators. These have been the reason I have been less than excited about an intermediate term bull run. My thought has been that we'll get to all-time highs, maybe get above them in the short term, and then that's when we're going to see the turn in the market, based on the fact that my intermediate term indicators have been in this declining trend. But as you can see, they have turned up in concert now, and they're not overbought really. So that actually does leave us with some room and some thoughts that possibly in the intermediate term we could see this continue. But right now we do have only 28% of stocks that have their have a crossover buy signal on the PMO, meaning the PMO is above the signal line. They're on these buy signals. And so, I really like that look. We've got 28%, like I said, not a lot, but it has bottomed and it is starting back up. Should have a positive crossover here soon, and seeing those oversold readings and that turn to the upside, I think is very positive for the intermediate term now too. But I'm not going to jump on board with a longer term rally at this point. I can't do that. I just don't see enough in the way of those crossover buy signals. I really want to make sure that that's going to continue higher, because we've had some fits and starts in the past and doesn't always pan out unless we start to really see that improvement on the percent of PMO crossover buy signal.
Let's talk a little bit about gold, GLD.
Oh, yes. Gold has been quite the area, has it not? All right, so I brought my GLD 6-month chart, and gold, I think the chart I sent you, gold was, actually GLD was down slightly, but the main thing that we want to look at is that rising trend. And the rising trend is still intact. Gold has been, when it's had a little bit of a pullback, that area has held. That rising trend is still intact. And you can see when you look back at that January, the end of January, early February top back there at 176, it's holding above that. It broke above it very strongly, and now it's kind of consolidating that move right above that support level. So I think gold still looks good. I'm not thrilled with it being quite as overbought as it is, but given that the PMO is still rising nicely, we know that overbought conditions can persist over time in a nice bull market run. And that's what gold is doing right now. We may see some consolidation here, but overall, we're still very bullish on gold.
Last time we spoke, which was just a few days after the double bottom. At that time, I remember you were saying that the action in both GLD and GDX suggested that both would revisit and probably surpass their previous highs. The price action so far has vindicated your technical assessment at the time.
Yes, and at this point, I just don't see any negatives here. We did get that long-term trend model golden cross buy signal that came in earlier. Long term, it looks good. Intermediate term, it looks good. I think really the issue we might have with gold is it just needs to digest this very nice rally to the upside. See it really pulling back in a major way, but it certainly needs some consolidation. So I wouldn't be surprised to see gold get hung up here a little bit so that RSI can get out of overbought territory. But overall, gold looks good. I mean, I can't say anything bad about it. If you look down, we track the premium and discount of the closed-ended fund of the Sprott Physical Gold Trust, PHYS. And you can see that when the discounts get very, very high, that means that participants are very bearish on gold. And right now we are seeing some bullish, activity. We're still seeing discounts, but the fact that we're seeing that bullishness now in gold, that also tells me that we could see that consolidation, possibly a little bit of a pullback, because we have these discounts that are now so low. But ultimately, I mean, you can see premiums and they can persist on gold. We haven't seen that in a very long time. But the fact that they are getting close to, being a premium, that could also cause gold a little bit of problem. But overall, I mean, you look at the gold charts and it's just hard to not be bullish on gold.
Now, the next two charts we're going to talk about, they are cannabis stocks. Their charts look pretty bullish as well.
Oh, it turned out to be like my best picks in my diamonds report. I do two reports for our subscribers. We do the DP Alert, which looks at the charts I just showed you plus some, and then I do my DP Diamonds report, which is where I pick based on what the market's doing. I pick stocks that I believe are going to ride that trend, and I do that by using scans that I have produced. And one of the scans was, it was called, I call it Carl's scan for my dad. I sat down with him and I said, okay, what are the conditions you really like when you want to buy a stock? And so we went through all of the different things and I created a scan out of that. And so it really is great at bottom picking. You have to be careful because a lot of times the stocks are so beat down when they come up on that scan. You have to make sure everything is really clicking on the chart. And a lot of times you just don't see that with the stocks that come out of that scan. But I had two cannabis stocks come out on that scan, and I absolutely loved the charts. I thought they looked fabulous. And then to add to that, you've got there's initiative, the bill that's supposed to come out in the House. It's been put forward by two Republicans, and it is sweeping reform for cannabis. It will allow, it will take it off Schedule 1. It will no longer be illegal. They will be allowed to use the banking system. And then the VA, the Veterans Administration, would be approved to prescribe medical marijuana to their patients, the veterans. So it's really starting to get a much more positive spin than it has in a long time. And with the federal government possibly getting behind this, I mean, the technicals on these charts look fantastic, but now we even have that background news to consider as well. So I brought with me two, but I'll tell you there are others, and I'll give you some of those names that would be worth looking at in that space. So let's go ahead and we'll start off with the ETF, because a lot of people maybe aren't comfortable in that area. It has been very speculative, might make people a little nervous, and this is a good way to get exposure to that space with maybe not having to take on a lot of the risk associated with buying some of the individual companies.
Okay.
But look at this chart. I mean, what's not to like here? Falling wedge, nice breakout. It's pushed above the 20 and 50-day EMA. You have that 5-day EMA crossing above the 20-day EMA. That gives us a short-term trend model buy signal. At DecisionPoint, RSI has just gotten positive, so price is not overbought even with the very big move to the upside. I brought this one to the table for my subscribers yesterday, but I brought my other cannabis stocks to them on Tuesday. And those positions, in fact, 2 of them are up over 15% just since Tuesday. So this one I brought in a little bit later, mainly because I know some people, like I said, are a little nervous about visiting that area for investing. And I think that the ETF is a great way. But you can see it just set up so well after being so beat down, and it offers amazing upside potential. I mean, if it can just get, if MJ can go at where it's currently trading up to that March top, that's an 17% gain.
Yes.
Just to get there. And I don't see any reason why it won't go higher than that. But if you want to get a little bit more speculative, Aurora Cannabis, and full disclosure, I do own this one. You can see when we picked it back on Tuesday, it was at about $8. Currently now trading at about $9.39. It broke above all of those key moving averages. And again, that 5-20-day positive crossover, nice looking RSI. The PMO is pointed straight up. And you can see it as far as performance goes, really performing well against the S&P. Now you'll notice that the pharmaceutical group itself has been underperforming the S&P, but these stocks are certainly going to they're going to help. I think the pharma industry group with the breakouts that I see keep coming forward. And wow, I haven't even looked at this chart today, and you can see that the breakout today above that area of overhead resistance at those May tops, wow, looking just great. There are a couple other names that I would suggest your viewers consider in that space. Canopy Growth is a big company, large volume on that one. That one is up over 6.5% today. Similar situation. And, you know, I think that one looks good. Tilray is one, TLRY, that's a popular one in that space. Clever Leaves, full disclosure, I am in Clever Leaves, which is CLVR. That one looks fabulous. Really, it's all about cannabis for me this past week and going forward. I mean, like I said, based on that news, based on the technicals, which is really what I trade upon, you know, that's what I'm looking at. So, you know, when the technicals match and then you get that news on the other side, I mean, I just can't turn that down, you know.
Erin, anything else you would like to add?
I would add that on Monday, it is Memorial Day, but I am going to be holding my free trading room in the morning at noon Eastern. If anybody is interested in checking it out, I discuss how I look at these daily charts like I just brought in, and then I use a 5-minute candle chart to help with determining the best entries and exits. So if anybody is interested in trying out that trading room, Monday would be a great day. All you need to do is go to my DecisionPoint.com website, sign up for the free email list. There's also a link right there, a picture about the trading room. If you click on that, you can immediately register for it. We have a great big group in there, and it's a lot of fun. So that would be the one thing. And then the final thing is that we are running a special currently for, you can save 50% off of any of our subscriptions for your first month. All you have to do is use that coupon code SAVE, S-A-V-E, 50, 50. So SAVE 50, use that coupon code when you check out, and you will get 50% off your first month. It's a great way to try out our products and reports and see if it's something that works with your analysis process. That's pretty much all I have today. I know it's been a whirlwind, but lots to talk about. I think that it's a really interesting market right now. I think that there's a lot of candy in the candy store, and keep an eye out with the bullish bias currently happening in the market, and think weed stocks.
And good talking to you as always. Have a great holiday weekend.
You as well. Thanks so much.